This was like a hard stop, and then you had to like really start again after the holiday, after the new year, like after not commuting for a while.
This was hard for you?
It just felt like a lot of, I mean, I started working out, like, boom, yesterday right on time. I went right back to my 5 a.m. wake-ups. Like, those things were easy, but just the energy needed to, like, wow, like, get your body out of the house on time.
I was so excited to leave my house.
You were thrilled.
Yeah, no, I needed a little bit of time by myself.
I noticed that. Not you. I mean, me. I noticed that I didn't have alone time at all. I was with family, and then I was with more family, and then some more family after that.
As I get older, I'm realizing how much energy it takes to be with people, and that was something that I didn't really realize before, was that when I go to these social gatherings, that I'm drained, you know?
Yeah, it takes your battery down.
Totally.
Your social battery.
Totally.
Like, shrinks a bit.
So we kind of have a depressing topic that we're talking about today, which matches our weather outside. A little bit depressing, but also very on point.
Yeah, relevant.
Before we get into it, I want to introduce myself. My name is Emily Hazard. This is my co-host.
My name's Kat Larson.
We're both real estate agents here at Keller Williams, and today's topic is all about what happens when your house never sells.
Yeah, there's a lot of prep that goes into getting the house on the market, and you're waiting for an offer to come that first week, and then it doesn't happen. And then maybe like 2 weeks has gone by, and then months have gone by, and oh my God, and now I'm Googling, what do I do when my house doesn't sell? So, you know, given the market, what we know about it today, which is really being called the Great Reset, right?
Yeah.
We like to use the word great, like Great Depression, Great Recession.
Make
right?
America great.
Anyway, the point being, we like to throw great in the titles, and in this case, it's the Great Reset. So we're really leaning into this for this topic coming into 2026, because really, kind of unanimously, we're hearing the experts say things about this is needed, this is healthy, but what it is uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable.
And in 2025, we had the largest jump of sellers who went from being active to delisting their homes.
Huge.
So this is trending right now, shall we say? It's lit.
Yeah.
It's on fire.
Is that what the kids are saying?
That's what the kids are saying.
Okay,
It's got a lot of riz.
Oh my God, you went there. I'm here for it, by the way. Okay, I'll get on board. But what I was getting, all of that translates into super relevant for what consumers are dealing with today, whether they're on the buy side or the sell side. We are dealing with change that feels uncomfortable. So, you know, you use the word depressing to start. I'm like, okay, well, it's clearly a shift, so that there's discomfort in that, but relevant for us to be talking about. So to do you a good service, a worthwhile listen today, or a worthwhile watch, we want to make sure we're covering the topic that's going to be the most useful into your actual shopping experience or your actual selling experience. So let's get into it.
So when you initially put your house on the market, you're going to feel this sense of excitement, because especially here in the Pacific Northwest, we have had a very short amount of days on market, a very small amount of inventory for people to look at, and so it has been the expectation that when you put your house on the market, it should sell, or you should get an offer within the first 2 weeks.
Yeah. One thing I'm doing when I'm preparing my clients to list their home is to get realistic today. Get realistic about today's market, because as you mentioned, really recent history has told us short days on market happens where we live. We're talking 2 weeks or less is kind of the creme de la creme ideal timeline. Get it under contract within the first week, if not that second one for sure. And again, we're seeing that happen less and less. And so when I'm prepping my clients for, hey, let's be realistic about today's market, it's the rarity, that's the exception that you're going to get an offer like day one or maybe even weekend one. But the norm now that we're going to just have higher days on market. It's the exception that homes are selling for above their asking price. It's really about 24% or lower, depending on where you are, that homes are getting above their asking price. So we're not seeing like
escalations,
huge escalations,
or bidding wars, or all cash offers. That's not going to be the case. I think psychology is really important to talk about when you're selling a home, because the buyers are buying a product.
Yeah.
Yes, they're buying a new life, right? Yes, and maybe they can see themselves in your house expanding into this new life, but it is a product and it needs to be able to compete with other products. So a lot of my older customers or clients who are getting into selling, what I'm noticing is that they haven't really looked at the market in maybe 20 or 30 years.
Yeah.
They have not been a buyer. And during those 20 to 30 years, they've had friends and family come over and tell them how wonderful their home is. It's so beautiful. And it probably is. But I also think that our friends and family are embellishing a little bit and haven't had the same perspective of going through the other houses that are competing with this house in the market.
Yeah, I think the buzzword for me is perspective, because while you have a perspective, if I'm the owner of a home for 20 years, I have the perspective of sentimental value.
Yes.
Somebody who's never been in your home and is looking to pay premium price tag for the perfect product isn't going to see sentimental value and that translate to money in your hand. They're not going to see that. In fact, they'd like less of it. This is why we do things like work on presentation. We want your life out of that home. We want a blank-ish canvas with some of the lines filled in, but we want to color in the rest when we're shopping for our own home.
And that can be really emotional for sellers. I think that when somebody comes in and suggests changes to your already perfect home, that can be a little bit hard to take on.
Yeah, and I do think you're not wrong when you say that the psychology is really important to be talking about, because the listing prep that I have done is very extensive for taking a home to the market. Like sometimes we're talking months of prep before we're getting a house on there. Up to a year.
Yes.
I mean, I started a conversation with somebody at the end of last year and they're talking about selling in 2027. So it's a lot of work to get a home ready. And because of that, I start planting little seeds about, hey, I'm just getting you ready to start shifting your thinking. Doesn't mean we have to get all the way shifted today, but I want you to start thinking about getting realistic for the market when we list, not 2020.
Yeah.
Because I think that's really what we're hanging on to. Again, that psychological piece, that kind of the high times of 2020 to 2023, which was just a roller coaster ride of hot and sexy real estate stuff happening. And we're looking more like 2019 and earlier, right?
So
we're definitely shifting.
Now, yeah, there's 27% more sellers than buyers in the market if you look nationwide. And what we're seeing in Seattle specifically, I believe, is that there's 9% more sellers than buyers.
So smaller than the national, but still almost 10% higher.
Which is higher than it was even last year. So if you're thinking about putting your house on the market, one of the things that I like to do with my clients is sit down and talk about their why.
Yeah.
So much of what we do, we're not sure why we're doing it. So if it is to be close to family, then that is your why. How can I help guide you in that direction? Because I think we do get kind of stuck in this time loop of, I can't let this go.
Yeah.
And that's where pricing comes into play.
I feel like you're warming us up for the idea, like you're about to walk us into the point that we will subconsciously limit ourselves with pricing on the letting it go.
Yes, because, okay, this is a highly debated topic in real estate, but many agents will say that you cannot underprice a house.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
Why is that? Why would an agent say that?
Why would an agent say you can't underprice a house? Because you will have a client who's the seller of the house. When you're in this kind of conversation about listing prep, you know, they will say, well, I don't want to leave money on the table. I don't want to price the house too low and leave money on the table. I want to make sure we price it right so that we're getting all that we can. They're going to say, like, I want to leave room for negotiation. So they might price it too high and go and thinking like, oh, there's room to come down on that. But the problem with that is a seller who's just looking at, a buyer who's just looking at listings online is going to move right past it if you're not hitting their criteria, right? So underpricing a home means you've just opened up to many more potential clients, potential buyers.
Yeah.
And so versus narrowing it down and having it priced too high, where you're starting to slim that search criteria down for certain people. How did I do?
Pretty good. I think if you were to tell people, let's put it in modern day terms. So if you were to put a Labubu on the table, 24 karat gold Labubu.
Right here in the middle of our table.
Or some sort of piece of art, right? Okay. There's going to be a bidding war that happens for it. There will be somebody who wants that.
Yeah.
And it is the market that drives the price. So as much as Kat and I scroll through the data, all we can give you is estimations. It's really who's going to pay that much for it? And that is it's not in our control. Mm-hmm. So you have to imagine that somebody else is going to come in and say, yes, I want it, and yes, I want it for that amount, and I want it so bad that I'm willing to pay more for it. That's where bidding wars come into play, is that you have this product that maybe was underpriced, but people are like, oh man, I'm not going to get another opportunity like
that.
This.
Drives demand.
That drives demand. There is a risk. I will say the risk in it is that you might make buyers think there's something wrong with it if you underprice it too low.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, if you overprice it and you sit on the market for 30 days, how many of your clients have asked you, what's wrong with it? What's wrong with it?
Yeah.
Why hasn't anybody bought it?
Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'll have clients who are in a really tight and competitive price band.
Explain that to me, the buyer or the seller is, because I think that we can talk about that from both ends.
Okay, I will talk about it as the buyer today.
Okay.
I have a client who is looking for an ultra low price tag because that's what her income allows for. So she's purposefully looking at properties with high days on market because there's more negotiation room for her. She can bring that price down, most likely because it needs to be sold, or they're trying to sell it as is. It's a Form 17 exemption. We know there's things wrong with the house, but the person's not in a position to do repairs. So we're looking maybe as an opportunity to bring that price tag down.
Sharks in the water, right? They smell blood, right?
Exactly. That is almost wholeheartedly the core of our strategy, is looking for houses that aren't perfect, because that gives us an opportunity to work with what we have there.
So if you're thinking about selling and you've been on the market for 30 plus days, all of a sudden you need to start reconsidering your price point.
Yeah, it's not exactly an easy conversation to have. And so having it with some tact and with some specific strategy guidance we can give you, I think in today's topic, hopefully makes that more doable for people. So what would you say if you're sitting down at the table with somebody and their home's been on the market for 30 days, where are you starting? Where are you starting the conversation with that person?
Okay, I started the conversation before we went on the market. I said, this is what I believe will gather enough attention to sell your house. Mm-hmm. However, if we reach this 30-day mark, I need you to be ready for a price reduction.
Yeah.
Because you've already been through all of the buyers that can afford your home, all of the buyers who qualify within those 30 days. You've missed the people below it, so now you got to go and try and look and see if there's anybody who's a little bit less. Now, how much you drop that price point by varies, and it's specific to that home and what that client can endure. So when I go back to what you were saying about the price bracket being very narrow, there are some sellers who need to make a certain amount in order to be able to move.
Yeah.
And so they are really constrained by that, and that can make for a super stressful selling situation if there's this dollar amount. I believe that there are creative ways that you can still help clients get there.
Ooh.
But it would require that conversation up front. Listen, this is what I have to make in order for the home to sell. This is what I have to make.
Yeah.
And at that point, we can do all sorts of stuff to try and make it as desirable as possible.
Okay. Yeah, so when you're talking about like opening up to more buyers, again, we're back to that whole like, who are you going to catch with your net, right? If this is our price tag, we can catch, are we getting 30% of the market? Are we getting 80% of the market? Like, where are we in that, and sometimes that first initial list price isn't 100% of the market.
No.
We know that. We know that some agents will strategically list 15% below market value or what they think they can get for the home, because that opens you up to a much wider bracket of buyers. And so, yeah, when you're limited on the sell side for what you can bring, maybe you do get more creative. Maybe like the price tag doesn't change, but the amenities you offer within that sale do change. That's a nice option to be able to have, because at the end of the day, I think part of why we don't see the numbers of buyers and sellers balancing out today, because it is still really difficult to buy.
It's really expensive.
Money is very expensive.
So maybe you don't reduce your price point, but you do help in seller concessions, where you're going to buy down their rate. So it makes it more affordable for somebody to be able to pay the price that you're asking.
Yeah, I love that as a way to incentivize somebody to buy. Like if they've been sitting on the sidelines, that might be a nice little nudge they can offer.
Yeah.
Or say, hey, I'll offer $500 for cleaning at the close, right? Something along those lines. Like you're not actually having to drop the price point 50, 60K, but you might still be able to offer some things to sweeten the deal. And we see new construction properties doing this left and right.
And that's why they are selling faster, because they have a lower mortgage rate and because they are throwing in all of these seller concessions.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. I got excited. I'm like, incentives, I want one. Makes me curious.
Yes, please.
Okay, so we've covered a couple really big topics. We talked about 30 days on market. The first thing we're going to do is revisit a conversation we already started, which is around price and maybe taking a price adjustment. If that's off the table, then we look at incentivizing. What about presentation? Can we talk about this?
Presentation is a big deal. So when I show up to meet a client, I show up in the outfit and attire that I would expect from a top broker. And I think that some agents have a different approach to this, right? There are some properties that are presented really poorly. They smell bad, right? They aren't clean. They don't have great pictures.
Curb appeal.
Yeah, there's just a lot that needs to be done. So when I am walking a property like this with my clients, either it's very, very below market value, or we're gonna start looking for some ways that we can drop it down.
Exactly. I love that. I love the way you put that, of like this or this.
There's always another option.
There's got to be give somewhere, and that right there, the word option, is key for why we're in the position we're in right now to have this reset, because buyers have options. Maybe it doesn't feel like they have a lot when it comes to, say, their interest rate. There's something to do about it, right? There's different things you can leverage to get that interest rate to make more sense, but they don't have to buy that one house now. They have options, which is back to that whole supply and demand thing going like this. So if you're gonna get the attention you want your sellers to get on this home, your presentation has to be on point, or your price needs to reflect its current condition. Those things right there, not being in tune, create high days on market. I mean, 9 times out of 10, it's one of those two things that's leading to high days on market for a home and getting into that stale, 30 days or more on market, which we call a stale listing after 30 days typically, I think, right?
Here in Seattle, it is stale after 30 days. A lot of homes will take longer than 30 days to sell, and what I like to tell my clients is if we hit that 30-day mark, let's think about a 5% drop.
Cancel, relist.
Yeah. The other thing I want people to think about is what does your marketing look like? Because pictures tell a lot. Pictures are the only reason why people come into the house. And I don't know if you've ever been on a house tour before where the pictures look nothing like the listing.
So
that happens
times.
too, but I think that if you have shit pictures, you're not going to get people interested in your home.
No, and I've heard it from both ways. I've heard coaches and mentors say, if you see cell phone pictures and you're representing the buyer, run. You're about to get a good deal, because this is a lazy agent who is not on their game and who doesn't have the work ethic and the drive to work hard for their client, and you might be able to get a great deal. So I've heard it from the buy side, but from the sell side, I'm like, my name is attached to this. It's on the side, and usually the couple of days before that listing is going live, I'm like ponytail, hot, sweaty, cleaning, pulling weeds, ugly girl cleaning that house, right?
She's never ugly though.
Just making sure.
That's a lie.
You're sweet. I'm just making sure I'm doing everything I can to make sure it absolutely shines.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of assumptions made about an agent's work ethic right away when you walk into a house. And yes, clients are going to be clienty, and they're going to limit how much access you have to the home before it goes live. Hopefully you have some compatibility in that relationship where you have room to play in that space of like, hey, I'm going to be in your space, I'm going to do your stuff. But hopefully there's enough rapport built ahead of time that you can get in there and like do what you need to do presentation wise, and it's not going to just like hurt their feelings, so then you just don't do anything at all, because that's going to cost both of you guys at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that everything needs to be staged, but if you are trying to sell a home that's over $1 million, staging is important.
It is really key for showing the value of that home.
Because all the other $1 million homes are going to be staged.
Yeah, and that goes back to presentation being poor. Like that might be a serious aspect to consider. So I'm wondering, I know we've talked about the agent, maybe the agent's the problem, maybe the presentation is the problem, maybe the price is the problem. Presentation is condition as well, right? Wouldn't you say? Marketing.
The marketing, right.
Could be ineffective. That's another reason you might get that stale listing, high days on market, is the marketing is just stale as well. We're not doing enough creative work to get people to look at that property, right? Whether that's Facebook, whether that's, leveraging your social media, mail, print, whatever you're doing, open. You know what I love? I love an agent open with a value add, like, hey, come look at my listing and I'll buy you a latte. Hey, come look at my listing and get a free headshot while you're there. Come look at my listing right? Like that's somebody's gonna
take blogs, like videotape, all of it.
Give me free marketing by posting it. And sometimes you have to lean into a home. Like I was once doing an open house for a listing that was ultra time capsuled, right? And so the marketing for that was like leaning into how unupdated, how unupdated it was. We're talking conversation pit, we're talking shag carpets, like the fixtures were all carpeted in the bathrooms, all the things. And so we leaned into that marketing. Like it definitely wasn't pristine. Like you were probably going to put money into that home, but we worked with what we had. And I think that's where kind of those two things go hand in hand. That like if your marketing isn't great, it might be your agent that's the problem. I think those other things you guys can work together on.
Totally,
right?
Totally.
Like beforehand, the pricing and the presentation, those are things you guys can work together on. But if the marketing just isn't there, we probably need to start talking about maybe doing an agent change before we do a full refresh on this listing.
And that can be really, really difficult. I think that people have a hard time having hard conversations. So if that is the case, you do have choices. It's like a doctor, you guys. You get stuck going to the same doctor over and over and over again, but what you don't realize is you're paying them. So get somebody different, because that's definitely within your control.
Yeah, absolutely something you can do. Again, back to uncomfortable. It could be really awkward or uncomfortable to terminate a relationship, but you deserve to have the peace of mind you need to see this thing be successful, because we're talking about livelihood. We're talking about major life changes. Like you need to have the right partner on that project. There's definitely going to be listings I'm not the right partner for that project, right? And like, great, that's where referrals happen. So maybe you lean on your agent and just say like, is there another person we can bring on board, or maybe shift around, or just take another recommendation from someone you trust. I think one additional aspect I could see contributing to those high days on market, stale listings, is fighting today's market, like fighting the market as it actually is today, and just wanting to be nostalgic, thinking it's 2020, my house is just going to sell with like a peck on the cheek, and that's all you need to do, instead of like really sprucing it up and getting it ready for going to market.
Yeah, there's a lot of deferred maintenance that I think people don't do that will really hurt your listing.
Yeah.
If I walk in and I see that the house or the roof looks like it hasn't been updated in 20 years or needs a new layer, that's a big oh no. Or if I find out that the house's furnace is over 15 years old, those are like $20,000 costs. So if these things aren't done and you don't do an inspection to find out if they need to be done, you are going to get screwed in the long run, as far as not getting that price point that you want, having so many of these unexpected repairs that need to get done. I think that can be really, really challenging for sellers, because you are, again, about to leave this house where you created all these memories, and all of a sudden someone comes in and says, yo, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Turns out it doesn't work.
I kicked the tires, they don't work.
Now, either you need to give me $40,000 in order for me to complete this purchase, or you need to do it yourself.
Yeah, it's gonna be one or the other. Like, something's gonna have to give there. People aren't gonna just walk into that home in this market and accept it as is.
Right. Unless it's priced really low, and then we go back to price.
Back to that piece here. So it's really not a difficult formula. I think it's a matter of facing facts that we don't always want to have to look at.
Yeah.
We don't always want to have to look at the fact that maybe we neglected these things or deferred them, kicked the can down the road, right? But these are really expensive mistakes to be making. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but we need to look at it if we're going to get to the successful finish line of a closed sale at the end of this process. So you're not wrong when you say you're going to get surprised and you're going to get bit in the butt when maybe you didn't do an inspection, but a potential buyer does, and they are willing to spend the couple $100 to do the inspection that gives them the wealth of information they need to say, I'm breaking up with you, I don't want to be together in this process anymore.
Turns out you lied.
Yeah.
You lied, and now I'm done.
Yeah. I get my earnest money back.
Yeah.
I'm moving on. I'm going to find another house to put this engagement ring on.
And now you got to go another 30 days. And if you're not living in that house and you're paying a mortgage on it, that becomes expensive. So I also like people to think about, like, how long do you want to wait for this new life? Because you're in control. You have the capacity to change the price point, which is what it most likely comes down to.
Yeah.
I think that if you fire your agent but you don't change your price point, you're going to be in the same boat again. I think, and I think there's a lot of agents that want to appease you by telling you that yes, your house really is worth that much. But in the back of their mind, they're thinking, it's not going to take off.
Sometimes you hear the argument that, well, it only takes one buyer to sell the house, right? So
I've heard that so many times.
Here's the thing about that. When you have priced your home too high at a price point that you think it's worth, that reflects your sentimental value and your years of great living in the home, there is one person that's going to pay that price, you. Right. You are the only one that is going to pay that price. There's not a buyer in today's market that's going to see all of those things with your exact same 20 years worth of history in that home and then be like, you know what, you're totally right. I don't want to change anything. I don't want to knock out any walls or do anything different. I'm going to do it all the same and pray. You're not. You're going to be left with a house. You get to congratulations, you just bought it.
Yeah.
You get to
stay in it.
If that's where the bigger payoff is that you're right in your number, which being right is so overrated in this whole system. And when I say being right, I mean, like, you think it's worth 1.1 million, so you have to get that number. I have to have this number. But did we go to have the why conversation?
Right.
Because if you need to have that number because you need to live closer to your grandkids, then maybe we can soften up that being right about, I think it's worth 1.1 mil. Maybe we can back that off a little bit and still get to our why, just not with a gold medal. Maybe we have a silver medal.
Yeah.
And that's still pretty nice. It's still a win at the end of the day, and it's still an impressive win considering the numbers we've seen of people going cancel or going temporarily off market or even expiring.
Yeah.
Right? We know the stat is somewhere around 15% nationwide, and that we saw that number go up.
Dramatically this last year.
About nationwide, we're looking at a 15% cancel expiration rate, and then come like November, December, that number went up, right? Significantly up. And normally we in this happy Seattle market tend to be pretty protected from that number. Like, we stay hovering right at or below that number, and even we saw that number kind of go up and above. So it's not just an anomaly that's kind of speaking to that whole housing reset we need. It's healthy, it's needed, because we have to have a balanced market rather than people speculating this bubble that's going to burst and prices are going to come crashing down. This is a lot more subtle.
Yeah.
And you have to have a lot more patience for this, and you certainly can't time it to be like, but I'm going to wait for the whole market to reset, then I'm going to act. I'm like, we need things moving beforehand, and then by the time we get there and the people get on board and agree that you're there, it's too late.
Yeah.
We're starting to see the next trend start by then.
I think if you are not in a position to deviate from the price point that isn't working, then it's time to explore new options.
Yeah, so let's do that.
I think that if you're not ready to sell it because you're not getting the price that you want, then take it off the market and wait until things change.
Yeah.
Wait until money is less expensive. And don't reset your expectations. Think, okay, if mortgage rates go down, now I can potentially list it at 1.1 because now there's a wider band of buyers who can actually afford it. We've done that with one of our investment properties. I told my husband I really didn't think it was going to sell at that price point, and he was very adamant. So we listed it, and it didn't sell. We sat there for a month and a half, and I said, we either have to change the price or we need to take it off the market. So we took it off the market for about 5 months, and we did Airbnb, until which point I said, I'm dying.
I don't want to do this
I
anymore.
don't want to do this anymore. I need this to be done. And so we came back on the market with brand new staging, all fresh paint, and a lower price point. So we spent more money, and we staged it appropriately, and we were able to sell it within 10 days.
Wow. Impressive. That's a great turnaround. That's like a great comeback story and not a failure.
It's not
like
a failure
the mind
because we
shift
were
on
able
that.
to invest that money into something differently, which is what we wanted. And I wanted the freedom to be done with this Airbnb side hustle because it was slowly killing my soul.
Yeah, just taking a lot of that energy. It's already such a precious commodity, right? Like you're already looking for as much energy and to conserve that. And so to put it in something that's not motivating you or getting you excited, it's not part of your why. I want to keep it.
Yeah.
It's part of your why. You want to get rid of it.
I want to be done with it, and I want to be able to use that equity and invest it in something different.
Yeah.
So we were able to do that, but again, it took those harder conversations of, yeah, I know this is where we had our babies, and it's a wonderful home, honey, but the people who are going to buy it don't have babies yet. They haven't had a birth in this house yet.
Yeah. So for them, they need to have a different. They literally have a different perspective on what they see that home being worth. So you have to meet the market where it's at, not the market meets you where you're at. It just doesn't work that way here. Now I'm wondering if you would call that a relaunch. I would call that a very successful relaunch. Do you have any more to add to that of like what you see as being like a hard reset? So say you do go off market, we'll say between 3 to 6 months, and you come back. What are going to be summing it up, what are the most important things to do if you're going to relaunch the sale of this home?
Yeah, I think that having a fresh landscaping was really important. Fresh paint. It smelled really good, and it looked really, really crisp.
And even if the home is clean, but it's not painted, it looks dirty.
It looks dirty.
It feels dirty.
It looks dirty, you guys, because there's nothing to cover up those walls. Think like there's very, very little furniture, so you can see everything. Yeah. So having a fresh coat of paint just makes it feel like a brand new home, even though it's not. And then fresh new photos. That was really important too. So I also did a podcast episode in the house and posted that out, and so there was a lot more marketing going on.
You're talking about having a fresh perspective on marketing, not something that you saw done that first time around. So that's pretty hip.
And we kind of gave up that notion that we were going to keep Airbnb-ing it. Like when we posted it the first time, it was kind of like, let's see if we can get this price point. But we're still going to take reservations and.
Okay.
But for the second time around, I was like, no, we're gonna do it. Like
lean hard.
Yeah, I'm paying for the staging. I'm paying for the paint. I want this money back. It's time to be done.
Can you speak, if you're comfortable speaking, to the difference in like your original price point to the one that you got with that 10-day sale? Like, what is the difference in those two numbers?
$50K.
Take my money. I will pay $50K to close a home. I mean, I will be willing to part with $50K. I know you invested in paint, so like setting that aside. I understand. I understand
Paint
you did
was
landscape.
like $1,000,
It's
right?
nothing.
You know?
It's nothing. But I think it's. Here's the thing. Like so much of our uncomfortable or unhappy moments in our life don't come from the actual events or the thing. It comes from what we make it mean.
Yeah,
So
everything is neutral until you give it some sort of meaning.
So what do what kind of significance is someone putting on $50,000? Does that mean you've lost now? No, like I see that as being a huge success of like, I will gladly walk away from $50K and 45 days of a stale listing to have a 10-day experience of being on the market. I'm high-fiving my agent. I'm so happy to be walking through this process with you because we are on the right track. If you got that home under contract in 10 days, like that is exciting. Something is working well. I would be paying attention and taking notes to that.
Well, and that buyer is much more qualified. They're much more ready to go, right? They're making that move.
They're watching
quickly,
the market,
right?
They were paying attention and they were ready for that listing when it came
quickly
on.
making that move rather than waiting 30 days and then making an offer, but then maybe pulling out. In 2025, I had to have that conversation with a lot of my sellers because if you are pricing your home too high, it sits on the market for 30 days. The person who's going to make an offer on that may be much less qualified than somebody who's ready to go and makes that offer within the first 10 days.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly 1,000%, as I've represented that buyer. We're looking for the opportunity, we're looking for like the loophole, we're looking for the play versus being the ones that are in your original pool of best qualified, this house is meant for you, it is already within your budget of what you're approved for. Instead, after 30 days, these are the people who are waiting for a price drop, they're waiting for strategy, maybe they're an investment and they're gonna try to offer even lower because you're desperate. After 30 days, your motivation has changed. And I'm that agent right now. I'm making calls to listing agents on stale listings with over 30 days. Hey, what can you tell me? And they're like, I can tell you that the house has been painted and the pictures don't show it. I can tell you my clients originally said their house is being sold as is, but I'd rather you just write in an offer for whatever you want to ask for because it's better than not having no offer at all. So there's really a lot of opportunity out there, and he's one of 20 agents I'll talk to this week who are going to give me similar versions of that exact motivation level that sellers are feeling, which is like, if this doesn't sell within the next week, we're taking it off the market and we're going renting. We're going to go rent it out. And so that's really what people are doing right now. So again, back to what quality of buyer do you want? Do you want the best quality? Then you have to hit it as hard as you can that first fresh look opportunity, because after that 30 days we're flirting into stale territory, we're losing that quality. We're losing that creme de la creme, and we're going to have to start making exceptions, which I've seen. I've got a contract right now that's below what we originally planned for and that we lost on negotiations for inspections. So I mean, the buyer's thrilled. He got a great deal. My sellers are like, it hurts real bad, but we're glad to be under contract. We're glad it's selling at all. We're grateful at all, because they've also seen the headlines and know that there's lots of canceled listings or expired listings right now. So lots of material in today's episode on how not to do this, on how to not get to this point.
Well, if you're ready to sell in 2026, you should have no problem. Just look at the data, listen to a qualified agent, or meet with one of us, because we do that shit.
I'll recommend her. She might recommend me. It's fine. You can't really go wrong. In fact, I think it's so valuable if an agent cooperates well with other agents. I think that's part of my value add too, is that like I play nicely with. I got a call from a client, the agent yesterday I was working with. He was like, "You have been awesome to work with. I would love to do another deal with you." And like, that's kind of the highest compliment you can get, aside from getting a referral.
Nice.
That feels pretty nice. But that's a value add of like, if I don't know something, I have a pretty deep bench of colleagues, mentors, good business partners who are going to help weigh in of like, this is what I'm thinking, guys, but I could use another perspective. Do you want to weigh in here? That's way more valuable than just a rookie agent who's going to be like, I'm going to cross my fingers and hold my breath that this works out.
Please.
I think it's a sign of maturity if you have like more willingness to be, and I wouldn't say like maybe humble, humble might be the word I'm looking for.
Being
here.
humble. Well, I think what's most important is being honest. So I think that there's a lot of agents that will blow steam up your ass.
Yeah.
Find the one who will give you their honest answer.
There you go. That's
Lean
so
into
key.
that, because you'd much rather have that information up front than go 30 days and have to have that conversation then, that they were just kind of appeasing you.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to respect an agent who's honest with me a lot more than one who's just nice to me. Well, don't get me wrong, I'd like both, but realistically, if your goal is we want to get to our why, and our why is really special to us, then that's where your expertise of this agent comes in, of like, okay, here's what I know about the market.
Yep.
Might not always be exciting to say that to you, and sometimes I'll preface that. Like I've spent enough time talking to people in this work and in my previous line of work that I'm okay saying that. Like, hey, I'm gonna give you some news right now. It might be a little bit uncomfortable to hear, but I need you to bear with me and we're gonna get through it.
Yep.
And then we can finish that difficult conversation, which I'd rather work with a client who's in that place with me than one who's like, yeah, we'll let you know, and they just want someone who's going to be a yes man.
Yeah.
And just lean over and be a doormat, right? And just kind of do whatever they want them to do. Like that, you're going to have high days on market then.
Yeah, you probably won't sell them. Yeah. So is that what you really want? Then great, Yeah,
you can call us after.
Yeah, tell us how it went.
We'll be glad to be the new agent that does the refresh and the relaunch. We'll do a podcast from your home and showcase all the wonderful things.
Yeah,
I'm here for it.
Awesome. Thanks for following along. Bye.
Bye.